Paul Ulibarri?
Yeah, man.
So
Excited to be on here with you.
I'm excited for you to join us, everybody. This is Paul Ulibarri. I'll let him talk in a second. Paul, this is the Down to Business podcast. You know that, I think. If you didn't, sorry. Guys, this is Paul, and he is a professional disc golfer for the last 15 or so many years, and one of the best in the world for a long time, and probably the best. And Paul, we'll talk about this. And the reason why I want to have you on today is at building a brand. And what does that even mean as a business owner? Our podcast is focused on small business owners. Why is it important to grow and understand how to build a brand so you can reach customers and reach people and serve people? And I know it's like a little bizarre to talk to an athlete about that, but you have done this. Like, you're a business athlete. This is the way I think of it. Like, you're an athlete, but you have figured out this business side of it better than almost anybody. And so just kind of wanted to talk to you about that so people can learn from how you've done it and a little bit of your backstory. And thank you for giving us like a few minutes of your time. I know you're on the road and about to play, so it means a lot to me, brother. Yeah, Paul, just tell people a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your like Cliff Notes background.
Yeah, so just like you said, I've been professional disc golf for 17 years now. Traveled the world in that time, played 45, almost 50 tournaments a year for over a decade. And then in the last 6 years or so, game's kind of grown. And then in the last 4 or 5 years, I've really kind of focused on brand building and building that business side. Because as an athlete, that is a business. You're your own business.
Yes.
And I feel like with athletes, just to go into something real quick, as an athlete, I think that they forget that and that they just think, okay, I need to play good, which is 100% right. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're under contract, you're your own business. So you need to figure out how to get the most out of yourself off the field as on the field.
Yeah. Do you remember a couple of years ago, you know who Mike Trout is? He's like the face, the best player in the MLB. A couple of years ago, the commissioner for Major League Baseball actually said that. He came out and they were talking about why is the game dying in popularity and stuff. And the guy goes, well, our best player doesn't care about building his brand. And if he doesn't build his brand, we can't reach new people. And a lot of people got upset with that. They were like, why are you hating on Mike Trout? If he doesn't want to be in commercials and if he doesn't want to have endorsement sponsors, that's his decision. But you're making exactly a great point. Like, the amount of new people who have become fans of disc golf because of you and what you do online is probably you can't probably count. It's not even probably quantifiable. Right. And so using that in terms of talking about business, people who own businesses, they can't get new customers if people don't know they exist, And so Paul, talk about when that kind of clicked for you, when you realized, obviously you've been a top ranked player for a long, long time, but you've told me and share with the audience, you didn't make a ton of money. You didn't make very much at all for a long time. And so when did it click for you to go from obviously you've been thinking about it, but the tide turned the last how many years? And what made you realize that? Did you wake up one day and just kind of boom, light bulb, or did you just gradual? What was the thought on your Ulibarri stuff?
Yeah, kind of. I was like I said, I was playing well for 10 years. The sport was small though, so it was tough to make money for anybody.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where it did start to grow, and I tore my ACL, so I was out for 8 months. And during that time, I thought I had a good brand, but during that 8-month time, I was watching people compete, and they forgot about me, just like that. Boom. And that kind of made me realize, dang, I guess I wasn't as popular as I thought I was. And so, excuse me. So I had to make a decision. I knew I was going to come back and play and be fine. But it really that's when the light bulb went off, where I was like, okay, well, if they can forget about me that fast, then I'm never going to make any money after I'm done playing. People don't know, they know me, but they just know me as a player.
Right.
And so one night, and I was sitting there, obviously I had my contract, but my contract was like pennies. So I was barely getting by, not being able to work, play tournaments and make money, you know, spending money on rent and car and insurance and everything. And I'm not able to do anything. And I'm like, okay, so I'm poor and I'm a top 10 athlete in my sport. How is this even possible?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And then I was like, okay, well, I either need to get a better job, like take my skills and do something else. It's not disc golf, and kind of do it as a hobby or a side gig, or figure out a way to make this work. And so it was easy, man. I just basically got a piece of paper. I looked at the most successful disc golfers that were not playing, because there were those, and I wrote them down, and I wrote down what they do and what they do really well. And then I just decided to copy that and then put my own spin on it. One thing I think that people overlook is they don't double down on what they're good at. You know, they're good at disc golf, but what else are you good at? Because that's your business as well.
Right.
You know, it's you. So if you're just a good player, you got nothing else to sell everybody. But if you're a good player and you speak well, or maybe you're good at giving lessons, or you're a good teacher, or you give good advice, like there's so many different things that you need to sit down and be like, okay, what am I good at? And if you aren't good at some of those things, it's really easy to get better. Like there's teachers for everything.
Right.
And so I was looking at it, and, you know, one of the most popular guys on tour is named Simon Lizotte. And he didn't play much. He was dealing with injuries, but he had a highly successful YouTube channel where he was reaching a wide audience. He had a great personality, well-spoken, and he was making, you know, what I thought was a lot of money. I don't know exactly what he was making, but just by the sheer volume of people who knew who he was, like obviously he's going to sell this and make money and do whatever YouTube's going to pay him. And so I wrote him down. Another guy was Nate Sexton, who's the team captain for Innova, which is a competing company with Discraft, one of I would say the two top companies in disc golf.
Yeah.
And he really marketed well a certain disc that everybody needs, and he didn't play very much. And he was, I think they did a poll, and he was the second most popular guy at that time.
Both guys you've mentioned don't play that much. Yeah. Both guys you mentioned didn't play that much, but they had the most value.
Exactly. And so, you know, obviously winning tournaments is going to make you money. And if you do it at a high volume, you're going to be popular. Everybody loves a winner, but nobody loves a loser who doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if you're a top 10 guy, like you said, Mike Trout's one of the best baseball players that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But if his social media is lacking, then there's going to be say you take Ken Griffey Jr. at his time.
Yeah. Like
that guy was in all kinds of commercials and he was grinding, you know what I mean? And he became one of the most popular players ever, but his stats don't come. Now, don't quote me on this, but they're probably pretty similar after Trout's career is done.
Yeah.
And Griffey's are probably going to be pretty cool.
But Trout won't be remembered like Griffey. Exactly. Trout's not going to be, like I was just talking to my friend about that the other day. Your point is being made, like Trout is going to be maybe top 3 of all time in statistics, but because he played on a team that didn't make the playoffs and he didn't brand himself, he's going to be one of those guys like, man, what could have been when it comes to like legacy? Like his legacy is not going to be crazy huge. But yeah, sorry, continue, Paul.
So I just basically took those two guys, because those were the only two guys that I saw that were actually making a significant amount of money without playing a lot, and definitely without winning a lot. And I'm like, that's me. I've been a great player a long time, but I only have like one Elite Series victory, a lot of top 10 finishes, but only one Elite Series victory. So I don't have that to back my name up. And those are tough things as an athlete to put down on paper.
Sure.
You know what I mean? To look at that and be like, oh, actually, I'm not very good compared to the people who are valued in the game.
Right.
So then I just put those two guys down. I looked at the things that they did really well, and I said to myself, well, I can do those things. And then it's just doing them. That's the toughest part, is nudging you through the door. I mean, a lot of people, great ideas just never happen because you don't start. And so the next day I was like, okay, I'm going to do these things instead of quitting. And I set like a 2-year plan where, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it every day for 2 years. And if it doesn't work out, then
that's interesting that you knew that you had to put in like a long-term effect instead of like a shot in the arm, like quick.
Yeah. And it ended up being a 3-year goal just because, and I'll get to that in a little bit of the story, but I lost my train of thought. Where was I?
You were saying that you finally started.
And it was a 2-year goal. And so I started a YouTube channel, and I was with a company that I felt like was holding me back. See, that's one thing that people don't like to talk about, because like loyalty is everything. It's really not in sports. Sorry, but you need to get paid. You're a business, and being loyal, if they're not going to treat you with the value that you think you are, then you're in the wrong company.
Right.
Period. And I truly believe that, because a lot of people get stuck in a company, and because of that relationship, that company's winning because they're like, no, this is the way we've always done it. Yeah. We're homies, like it's okay. Like we'll give you a little more this year, a little more this year. And you're like, I don't even know what my feeling is because you guys won't allow me to get there. And that's the way that I felt. So I had good relationships with all the companies, and I saw an opportunity with the companies that I'm with right now. And here's the very important part for people to understand is I didn't go to them and ask them, the new company, I didn't go there and be like, hey, I want more than I'm getting over here. I set out a plan, and I said, these are the things I'm going to do. I don't want any more money. I want the same contract that I got from my previous company. All I want is a promise that if I do all these things, you're going to hook it up at the end of this 3-year contract. We set a 3-year contract while I was getting to, like, it was a 3-year plan.
Yeah.
At the end of this 3-year contract, if I do all these things and everything works out the way that I want to, that I wrote down on paper, then at the end of that 3-year contract, I'm going to get paid. And that's where I feel like people get lost. They want the money now, and they don't want to put in the work.
Right.
It's fine to have great ideas. It's a different thing to have great ideas and then work really hard for them. And that's where people get lost, because once you're an athlete, you're like, you owe me, like I'm good. And unless you're winning every tournament right now, certain things, doesn't matter if you're a small business owner or a big business owner. If you're a business owner and you have a product that everybody wants, then of course you're going to make it,
Yeah.
Because everybody needs it, supply and demand. But if you have something that somebody's like not sure about, which was me, my product, my brand, you got to prove to the world, you got to do work, do good. If you're in landscape, you got to do good work,
yeah,
and advertise that good work, and then knock on the door next to that place and leave them a card and be like, that's my work, like it takes persistent effort in order to get to where you're supposed to go. So they told me, you don't want anything extra? And I'm like, no, not 1 cent. Same contract. That's it. And then for 3 straight years, I worked harder than everybody. And that's another thing. Like, you can get lucky, barely work, and make it. People do that all the time.
Yeah.
It's guaranteed that if you work harder than everybody, you're going to get there.
Right.
Period. And I promise you that. Like, if somebody's like, man, I worked my butt off for this many years and nobody appreciated me and blah, 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 I'm like, no, you didn't then. Then you didn't work as hard as you possibly could have. I promise you that. I and this is a sad thing, but I look at different businesses and like, it doesn't matter where you are, but I was, for example, I was at a casino a few weeks ago, and the dealer he was rolling the ball in the roulette, and he was really good at math. He was like the best guy at math, and he kept saying that. He's like, nobody does this better than me. Like, I am the roulette king. Like, I do the math so fast in my head that I do it better than my manager. And that right there stuck to me, because I'm like, if you do it better than your managers, then you should be
the manager.
You get what I'm saying? And that tells me that you're lazy. I'm not trying to call out this poor guy who's really good at his job. You know, maybe he just got in there. But that's just where my mind went. I'm like, well, then you should be in a seat right behind there taking care of nothing and just writing stuff down on paper, not spinning the wheel and having to talk to a bunch of degenerates like myself.
Well, you're right, 100%. Yeah. So what made
that's straight to where my mind goes.
Yeah.
And that's how my mind has always worked. In whatever I do, I'm always like, okay, I'm going like, no, you can't do that as good as me because I'm going to put more effort and more belief into it too.
Right.
You can't just do it and then be like, okay, I'm going to work really hard, but it's probably not going to happen. You see, that switch in my brain will never go to that spot. I'll never have that doubt.
Yeah, if you're gonna, you have
that.
You have that actual belief that in what you're doing. Like a lot of people hope. There's too much people that hope. Well, I hope this works, and I hope that, and I hope I win, and I hope I play good, or I hope I get this deal, whatever. And man, hope is like a bad business plan, is what people say. Like it's a bad business plan.
It really is. And when you come to a roadblock and something blocks you, that's just God being like, all right, shutting this door. All you got to do is go knock on the next one and open it up, and there's a new path, and you put that same effort. There's no roadblocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If something if that company would have shut me down, plenty other companies I could have gone to, and I bet you it could have worked. And it was them who was able to do that. And then together, you know, so far it's been a highly successful companionship, because to wrap it all kind of in a nice little package is I got to a place where there was no ceiling. And from my mind, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I want my work to pay off. So it was really hard for me to be in a company to where they were like, nice work, you get the same thing. Yeah. I'm like, what? You know, but I got to a place where these guys were like, nope, we want to let you go, because they understood the more value I bring, the better their company gets. Yeah. And then it's just a snowball effect forever. And I'm not going to say I got lucky. I just made the right decision.
Let's pivot on that, because a lot of our people listening have a lot of employees, and you sort of, when you're sponsored by a company, I'm not going to say you're their employee, but you're their representative, if you will. And you made a great distinction just now that you were with one company that was like, great job, pat on the back, and like zero compensation, zero appreciation, just a gesture of thanks. Now you're with a company, you are, you know, anything you do, they show direct and quick actual appreciation, meaning monetarily, marketing dollars, promotion, you know, trust. I mean, you're the team captain. I have said this here. You're the team captain for this organization and their players. So they put a lot of trust in you. Kind of speak to a business owner right now who maybe is not doing a good job of appreciating their employees. What, from the employee side, as you, someone who's worked with companies, you've been, I'm not going to say an employee, but you know what I mean, for 15 years. What are the couple key things that make you feel the love from a company, that makes you want to work harder and harder? You know what I mean? Like for them.
Yeah. One thing, I mean, bosses drive me absolutely crazy, because they think that they're, I don't want to misspeak here.
Sure.
Let me gather my thoughts. I feel like a lot of bosses don't want to do the dirty work. And if you can show, even for a little bit, if as a boss, you can get down there with your with your employees,
yeah,
and work with them at whatever project it is, even if it's for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
To bring yourself down to that level, you're so much more relatable.
That's so good.
Period.
Yeah, that's great.
And if you can do that, now all of a sudden you're connected with that person, and they don't feel like you're a boss. They feel like you guys are in a working partnership, because that's how a business is supposed to be.
That's right.
You're just like, so you do this and you do this and you do this and you do this, and your feet's propped up on the thing, and you're making phone calls and you're not doing anything. That's tough for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're best buds, because then there's this association with like a hierarchy, and like,
yeah,
I'm low totem pole and I have to do this. But if you can come down to that level and work just a little bit. It doesn't have to be extreme.
Sure.
Do little things. Buy them donuts every once in a while, like coffee in the morning, so when they get there, they feel appreciated. I feel like that's when you're going to get the most out of your employees, period. It's just tiny little efforts like that to show that you appreciate them. Because the facts of the matter are, without those people, you got nothing.
100%.
And you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And you're still not having to do much. And then showing them that you actually work really hard as well. If you have a boss that is just always on the grind, always working, when you watch him, he's on time, he's in the office, he appreciates you, and then every time you look at him, he's doing something that helps the company, it's going to make you work harder as well.
Man, that's good. I love that. I think there's a Bible verse that says we're like it's out of context, but the word they use is co-laborer. And when I think about that, like you said, when an owner or a manager is in the trenches with you, even if it's for moments instead of, a long time, because that's just how it goes, you feel that connection that we're on the same page, we're on the same team. And it's not a person that says, do what I say now. And it's no, let's do this together. I love that. So you'll.
Yeah, I feel like it's one last thing.
No, please.
That. I feel like it's an association too with being able to relate with what's going on. The boss, if he has no clue, he's been the boss for a few years and he's like, yeah, sweet, I don't have to do much. I do my job, they do their job. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
But if you actually go down there and do the dirty work, no matter what that is, now you're going to understand what those people are going through. And hopefully, as a human being, you can say to yourself, I'm glad I don't have to do that. I'm lucky that I don't have to do that. And therefore, I'm very happy that they're doing that for me. And you appreciate them. And that's where it comes easy to do the extra little tiny things for those people.
Yeah.
Get like bonuses, whatever. If somebody does a good job, hand them money out of your own pocket, because you're making so much money, more money than probably anyway. And everybody has those little things. But one thing I've learned in my life, period, is if you give, you'll get it 10% back. I mean, it says it in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's pretty easy. Like, you give and you get 10 more.
Yeah.
Period. And I know that fact. I know it.
Yeah. If you sow, you should also reap. I mean, 100%. That's just how it goes, especially, when you're that generous heart and that generous spirit. And that's something I appreciate and admire about you. I mean, not to get into that, but your humility and generosity from where you are to others, because where you've come from, and it's important. Like, it's easy as a business owner to forget that. Like, yeah, it's easy to forget where you came.
I
where you
always
came
remember
from.
to have some empathy.
Yeah,
for people. Right.
Well, Uli, this has been great, man, and we. I think I didn't even see it going this way with talking about like employees and the way an ownership or a group can help. But I think this is going to bring a ton of value to the people listening to this show who are, like I said, we have listeners all over the world and who are mostly business owners. So they're going to affect the lives of a lot of people who work for them. So again, this is Paul Ulibarri. Thank you so much, man, for being on the show, Down to Business Podcast. And tell people, actually, I can tell them where they can find you on social media. Instagram, OneUli, right? And
that's right.
And Facebook as well. And then your YouTube channel's growing pretty strong, Paul Ulibarri YouTube channel. So again, if you guys want to check out what disc golf is, if you don't know, it's one of the fastest growing sports in the world. You can play it with your grandma. You can play it with your 10-year-old son. Very accessible. Very,
You can play it with your employees.
Say it again.
I said you can play it with your employees.
You can play with your employees. Yeah, we play with our marketing company. We play all the time. We're probably playing today, actually. So anyways, Paul, thank you so much, brother, for being on the show. Go crush it, the tournament this weekend. And see you soon, brother.